G'day and welcome back to the channel. Another review, and this time it's a rather interesting radio. Now, you know, I've been a FrSky fanboy for a long time, but times change. Times change. New gear comes out, new transmitters, new equipment, new protocols, and you've always got to review the situation. Now, some time ago, the nice people at Jumper sent me this, and my Patreon supporters have seen the review of that. One of the problems with this was that it was mode 2, and I don't fly mode 2. This is from a reviewer perspective. And it looked awfully complex to convert to mode 1, which is what I fly. So I reviewed anyway for my Patreon supporters, and I've reviewed the earlier model of this, the one that came before that night. The only thing I found was perhaps the pots weren't that good on the things that reviews. If you go, just look back through the back catalogue of the channel, you'll find this stuff. But today, we're not looking at this. We are a little bit, because it's on the screen, isn't it? But let me say about this thing, the thing I like about these is they're small, they're compact. You can throw them in your backpack. If you're a multi-rotor flyer, if you're a freestyler or a whatever, and you want to go down the park and have a fly, these are really nice. They come with a nice little zip-up bag too, which means they're really, really well suited to flying mini quads in a mobile situation where you want to be able to move quickly because the police are coming, or something like that. Anyway, I waffle on. Suffice to say, this is quite a nifty little radio, especially when they put OpenTX in it. This one doesn't have OpenTX, it's got Dimension, which, you know, not so good. But the newer ones, yeah, they got better software, right? So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this one. Look at this. Woo, this is the new T16 from Jumper. And I've put it here beside these other two transmitters because I want you to see how it compares to my current favorite transmitters for general flying. That's the QX16, or QX7, sorry. There's the QX7, as you can see. And here is the good old original 9X FrSky radio. Now, the reason I put them side by side is because I want you to see that this is a pretty big radio compared to the earlier Jumpers. It's a full-size radio. It's bigger than full size. It's actually bigger. I think, is it wider? I don't know. Nah, it's a little bit narrower than the QX7, but it's a little bit squatter. And it's about almost identical in size to the 9X, perhaps a little taller. So it's not a small radio. It's not a toy radio. It's a real radio. And today we're going to take a look at its features. We're going to take a look at what it offers, its strengths, its weaknesses, so you can decide, has the crown for best RC equipment been taken by Jumper? Let's find out. So here is the radio, and as you can tell by my hand, it is quite a big radio. But before we start ripping this apart, let's take a look at what it says on the box, because you can always find out good stuff from looking at what's on the box. And it says it's a 16-channel proportional system. Features, let's look at what it features. It features 2.4 gig system with telemetry, 4.3-inch color LCD jumper, firmware, which is a version of OpenTX, multi-protocol, so it supports Crossfire, support for telemetry data transmission. I have no idea what that means. It's got a transflash card slot, who hasn't? Built-in speaker, who hasn't? Digital trims, who hasn't? Ultra smooth and precise double bearing gimbals, who doesn't? So yeah, I mean, it's pretty standard fare. Now, things you'll notice immediately: big color LCD. And in the past, I've not been a fan of color LCDs on transmitters, because you go outside in the sun and all you can see is nothing, and no one wants to see nothing. But there we go. You can see by this screenshot here, there's a lot of complexity on the screen, and that's one of the strongest features of this radio, which I'll get to in a moment. But let's get rid of the box. What else do you get in the box? Because that's pretty important stuff. You get a USB lead. My God, that saved me a fortune. Oh, of course, everyone has a million of these, but to their credit, they provide it, because you may not be able to find one when you need it. I don't know what it's for yet. There's no manual. I've got no manual, but I guess that's not a problem these days because everything's online. You get a neck strap. I don't use a neck strap, but I've got millions of neck straps. I wonder if I weave them into baskets or something, because I work out. I'm tough. I can hold my transmitter, even a big transmitter like that. My arms are so strong, I can hold it without having to have a neck strap. I know a lot of people like neck straps, and it improves. If you're a pincher, neck straps are cool. Now, screen protector. You don't see that often, do you? A screen protector. But I'm not going to use that, and I'll show you why in a moment. And then some gizmos, some little bits and pieces. I'm hoping this is for changing to mode 1, because I fly mode 1 and this is mode 2. So I couldn't use it if I couldn't change the mode. But again, There's no documentation. I haven't looked online yet. There's bound to be some. And you get this lovely polystyrene box that I'm sure you could turn into something. You could put plants in there or something if you want to. So think of everything. But right now I'm going to share with you the most enjoyable part of any new transmitter experience. Look. Ah, it's so satisfying. So satisfying. Pulling off the little protective strip. And bingo, big thumbs up, fantastic. It's got a non-glare screen. Look, it's got anti-glare, and that is why I'm not putting this on. Is it even the right size? Oh, I suppose it is. I'm not putting that on because I treasure having a screen that doesn't reflect the sun into my eyes. Certainly with LCDs that you use for FPV and stuff like that, I hate the shiny screens. If you're wearing a light-coloured t-shirt, all you can see is just a reflection in the screen. This is very good. They've thought this through. But then they provided a screen protector. I don't know why. Why don't they make non-reflective screen protectors? Maybe this is. Maybe I should have a look. Let's take it out of its bag. Is it non-reflective? Have I? No, it's kind of manky actually. It's kind of manky. Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty shiny and it'll get bubbles under it. So I'm not going to bother with the screen protector. I'm going to use the screen in all its pristine glory and its non-reflective state, which is brilliant. Right, so let's take a few looks. Let's take a quick look around this transmitter, see what's obvious. First of all, there's lots of switches, as you can see. In fact, it's got the same number of switches as a Tyrannus 9X. Same number. It's exactly the same. And are they even labelled the same? Yes, yes, so they're even labelled the same. I think they're the same things. Let's put the Tyrannus in here for a bit of a comparison because I know lots of people have Tyrannuses and therefore it's quite handy to compare. So yeah, you've got 3 position, 3 position, 3 position, 3 position, 3. They're all 3 position switches. Yeah, that's... Yeah, or that's a 2. Yeah, and that's a 2. And there should be a momentary contact. Yeah, it's all the same. It's just like a Tyrannus, okay? So if you like the Tyrannus, then you'll like this. The difference is Tyrannus has got these knobs in here, and Jumper have put them up here, which is probably a little bit more accessible. And then the one more really big difference is that this has a row of buttons which are illuminated here, which are for if you use Pixhawk or you've got like a flight controller with multiple modes, lots of modes, then here you go, you've got 6 individual buttons you can use to select modes on a channel. That's really kind of good actually. I must say, if I was a camera drone guy and I had Pixhawk or whatever, I'd like that. That would be really handy for me. Far more convenient than the Tyrannus, which doesn't have anything like that. Brilliant. Okay, now sliders. Yes, all good radios have got sliders, haven't they? Except my QX7S, which doesn't have sliders, but I use that for things that don't need sliders. But this does have sliders, look, on this side. And you can operate them while you still got your thumb on the sticks if you're a thumber. Down point, no center detent. Oh, so you don't know in the middle. You can see it on the screen, but if you're flying, you're not looking at the screen, are you? So even this is the original. What's the serial number on this thing? 139. Serial number 139. Even this has a detent, so I know when I've got my slider in the middle. That's good. Not so good. Never mind. I'm sure with OpenTX you can rig it to make a beeping noise, but it's still not quite as... Hang on. This one does have a slight detent. I can feel a slight... Yeah, just there. This one, I guess it does. It's like really, really weak. When we rip the back off, we'll see if there's any kind of real detent. But suffice to say, there's nothing that you could really use in terms of figuring out the center position from a feedback, so to speak. Right, neck strap connection, and look, it's pretty well balanced. If you're a neck strapper, you'll like that. Now, as for other controls on the front here, we've got digital trims. As I said, everyone's got those. I wonder which one is, we've got T5, these must be your throttle and your elevator trim. And then you've got some other ones up here. I don't know, is those little buttons there? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not a great fan of these clicky channel things, but some people will use them. And it's 16 channels, so you need to have something there. Not so bad, right? So that's looking at that. Looking at the top, we've got, here's a handle. One thing I noticed with this, perhaps not so flash, is here's the transmitter. It looks like it's designed to have an antenna in there, doesn't it? I mean, really, look, there's a little rubber bung in here. I'm sure that they meant to put a transmitter antenna in there, but then they put a module on the back. Because this is one of the big bonuses of this radio, one of the reasons you might want to consider this over anything else, is it's multi-protocol. Yes, it'll do just about everything, and stuff that you wouldn't even think of. So you can do your, I think, Spektrum and FlySky, FrSky, you know, and all the little funny little Chinese things. Most of those it will do. I've only found one sort of little toy quad that it doesn't bind to. So it's pretty damn good. There's the transmitter module. It's a reasonably good fit in there. So that's great, but you can pull it out, put Crossfire, probably put the FrSky R9 in there if you wanted to. Handy dandy. So considering this is a multi-protocol module, why didn't they build it in like they did with this one? I mean, they've built the thing in there, right? It's all built in. And you've got a spare module bay in the back. So with this thing here, if you want to put a R9 in it or a Crossfire, you can, if you've got bigger, longer fingernails than me, you can take that out, have a module and the internal 2.4, but with the T16, unfortunately, you're going to have to be either or. You have to take that multi-protocol out if you want to put your Crossfire or your R9 module in, which is kind of strange because it's a bigger radio. You think there'd be more room for this stuff, but they didn't do that. As I say, there's no perfect radio. All this is pros and cons. There are pluses and minuses to everything, and I'm trying to go through them so you can weigh up which is important to you and which isn't, so you make a decision. Okay, so and one thing I noticed too is that because they've got this antenna bulging out the back here, it actually kind of gets in the way if you want to hold it like this. You skin your knuckles on the antenna down there. It's really annoying. I think that could have been better thought out. I think that's probably a little bit of an oversight. And also, if you have your antenna bent round like that, which I usually fly just, with my antenna poking out the side or poking up like that. Either way, there's not a lot of clearance going on here. I don't know if there's any metal behind there, but these antennas, you don't really want the active element, which is probably sitting in about there, within half a wavelength or a wavelength or so of any metal. So this, if you did that, you're asking for trouble because there's a metal bar. That is just going to it's going to kill your signal. It's going to kill your signal, so don't run your transmitter like that. In fact, you shouldn't be able to have your transmitter antenna anywhere near the handle. Let's compare the FrSkys and see how they get on. My antenna here, this is so old. Look, it's all floppy because it's so old. If I turn that round, it doesn't go round. So I can't bend that over the back. It has to be out the side or up. And with the QX7, I think it's probably the same. The reason they don't let you put your antenna around there is because it will kill the signal if it's sitting next to the handle. And in fact, even here, I wouldn't do it like this because it's going to be sitting next to that switch. So yeah, little things that can make a difference, especially if you're going to be doing longer range with your models, you want a solid signal. Do not fly like that. Do not. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. The system shouldn't let you do that. So really, you're going to be stuck like that. And if you happen to be pointing directly at the model, you're going to have a massive null point off the end of the antenna. You're not going to get maximum range. The RF setup, which is one of the strengths of this thing because it's multi-protocol, appears to be one of its weaknesses because of the position of the antenna, the shortness of that antenna, and its proximity to too much other bits, like the rest of the transmitter. But there we go. We'll try it out in practice. It may not be an issue. I'm wondering how my R9 will go in there and whether the R9 antenna will clear all this. Tell you what, let's find out. Right, there's the R9 with the whip antenna. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing really wrong with that, although, again, you don't want to point this directly at your model. Let's see how we get on with the little loop dipole that FrSky also sell. Is that going to be nice and clear of everything? Here we go. Yeah, that's good too. So that's okay. This is fine. If you're going to be running a 900 meg system, you're probably going to be okay. See, that's got plenty of clearance from all the other metal bits, although, yeah, that's okay. So it's really only Jumper's own radio frequency system that causes a bit of an issue here. It's kind of odd. Maybe they will change that. I mean, they could fix that problem in a number of ways. The simplest way would be to make this antenna longer, make a longer antenna. Just extend the coax up through, have the antenna further up, or build the RF into the transmitter and leave the bay open for R9 or whatever. Yeah, why didn't they do that? I don't know. We'll have a look inside and see if there's any room left. Now let's take a look in the back here. You want to see how do you power this little thing. Well look, oh my goodness, I've put a LiFe battery in there. That's a 2-cell LiFe. I like LiFe batteries. They work really well, but it does come also with something that I've lost. You wouldn't believe it. I've only had this thing a few hours and I've lost the damn battery holder. Jump cut, found it. There we go. 18650, 2-cell 18650 holder. Now I don't have any 18650 cells here, and just a tip, if you're going to be buying 18650 cells for this, do not use the protected type because they can turn themselves off in the blink of an eye when your battery gets low. It's much better that if you find yourself a long way from home and your battery alarm goes off, that this doesn't shut down, even if it means you're going to ruin your 2 cells by over discharging them. It's a much better option than simply having them disconnect themselves from the circuit through the built-in protection circuitry. So no, just get yourself some decent 18650s, that'll be fine. Or you can use a 2S LiPo or a 2S LiFe, but do change the low voltage warning alarm voltage depending on what type of chemistry you're using because that's important too. Right, I haven't read the manual because it wasn't a printed one and I haven't gone online. So I'm going to try and work out how to turn this on. Well, this doesn't seem very hard, does it? Woo, look, little blinky lights flash. Woo, welcome to JumperTX. There we go, throttle warning, look at that. Switch warning, which one is it? Switch F or something, I don't know. Which one have I got? That one there we go. SD card, oh no. Press any key. Why is expected version, blah, blah, blah. Hang on, I'll just check and make sure that the TF card's stuck in there. Turn it off. There we go, look at that, bing, 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 bing. Because one would expect that it would ship with a current version of that software, don't you? And I know that Ron was having a fart around with this before. He may have just, there we go, let's reinsert the TF card. It probably wasn't inserted properly because I know that Ron had a bit of a play with this and he was poking around with the SD card, so probably it wasn't inserted properly. And now I shall put the back on. Okay, let's try it again. I've reseated the SD card. It was probably just unseated.
Welcome to JumperTX.
Yes, there we go, see? It was just a not properly seated SD card. That was good that it picked that up though, obviously. Right, here we go. Nice bright screen. I love that screen. That is fantastic. It's gone to dim now, but it is brilliant screen. Best part, I've always been a hater, as I said, of color LCDs. I think this changes my mind. I think it changes my mind. It is non-glare and it is suitably bright. Right, what have we got here? Well, it's not a touch screen. You can touch it, but it's not a touch screen. And if you do touch it, you get grubby fingerprints on there. So yeah, especially if you're flying nitro. So don't touch it if you've got oil on your fingers. But we've got a menu key. Woohoo, look at that, eh? And I've already set up this for LiFE. Came set up for LiPo or lithium ion, but I've set up for LiFE. I've got 6 volts to 6.9 volts is the battery range, so forth. But I mean, if you're familiar with OpenTX, well, you know, it's nicely prettied up, looks really good. Controls from navigating, you've got this little JR style and Spektrum style thumb wheel here, which is all very good and well. You've got the menu button, you've got the return button, which takes you back one step at a time. You've got a button for telemetry, a button for model, and a mode button. I don't know what these do. I haven't read the book, but it seems fairly easy to navigate. I'm quite happy, but the best thing, now, you know, this is all OpenTX stuff, right? But the best thing about this is you can configure the screen to basically do anything you want. Now, how did I manage this before? Was it telemetry? Did I hold down the telemetry button? No, it's not that one. I don't know. Haven't read the manual. Let's go back out of here. Let's hold this down. There we go. Main view. So you've got all these different ways you can configure your screen in terms of the actual panel layouts, and then you can set up widgets which enable you to do things like set up a timer. You can determine which of the little parts of the screen are operative, what's shown, like sliders and trims and all that stuff. So you can really configure this radio to make it into your radio, make it look on the screen, just the information you want on the screen. That is fantastic. If you're one of the people that likes to spend all hours of the waking night just tweaking around with your radio, this will probably do the trick. And it's far more flexible in this regard than the 9X or the QX7. So I am very impressed with that. It's a wonderful feature of the radio. It's a fiddler's radio. You'll love it if you like playing around with stuff. So that all seems well and good. I mean, hey, what's not to like? One thing I'm not so impressed with is this. These buttons here, you see they correspond to, when you push it, the little button lights up, but it doesn't light up very bright. I don't think you'd see that in daylight, to be honest. What's the point in having illuminated buttons if they're so dimly illuminated that you can't see them? Kind of doesn't make much sense to me. So maybe they could have made those brighter, or maybe I'm overlooking something, I don't know. There will be a follow-up video to this, of course, because once I've converted this to mode 1 and done some flying on it, my opinions may change, but at this stage, very favourable for the Jumper. I'm quite fond of this radio already. Under here, well, before I forget, is your mini USB and a jack, probably for trainer, is it? I'm pretty sure, or headphones, we don't know. Worth noting, there's no little symbols on here like you'd normally get to show you what that was. For example, if I go over to the QX7 and we look at that, you can see that this is obviously headphones because it's got a little headphone symbol there. Can you see that? Hopefully you can. So you know that's the headphone jack. But here, no clues at all. There are no other connectors anywhere else because you can't charge the batteries in situ or anything. So, you know, that's you have to take the batteries out to charge them, but that's pretty common these days as well. I think the old days of built-in chargers is long gone. Right, so there we go. That's my first look. what I'm going to do in the next video is I'm going to tear it apart because I'm going to convert it to mode 1 so that I can actually use it. But I hope you've seen already that, I'm kind of warming to this, by the way. Rubber grips, nice. It does fit nicely in your hands. Now, there's a point. If you're a pincher, you may find that these sticks, it's kind of, for a little hand like mine, it's quite a reach actually. I wouldn't want to fly 3D if I was a pincher with this, because these sticks are quite short. You compare the length of that to the length of that. You can see that the Tyrannus sticks poke out. Now, obviously you can make the sticks longer, I suppose, I don't know. Oh yeah, look, let's unscrew it and see what happens. Oh yes, it's a 2-part stick, as you can see, so we can make them longer. My goodness, they think of everything, don't they? So I'm going to make mine a little bit longer. I'm not that much of a fan of really short sticks, but I don't like them too long either. Let me just, is that tightening up? It's not tightening up. Why isn't it tightening up? I haven't wound it enough, have I? Oh, there we go. Don't worry, operator error. So yeah, that feels good. And that actually does feel a bit better from a pincher perspective. But I'm not a pincher, I'm a thumber, I'm a real man. I draw blood when I fly. So yeah, now I've extended that stick, it feels much better. So it's configurable. I don't want to go too much into sticks, but these are very light. I like light sticks. I don't like heavy spring tensions. I've got the spring tensions wound off most of my transmitters to the point where they hardly center because I'm old and feeble and I don't like having to fight the springs. But I like really light spring tensions. These don't feel too bad. But I don't know, there's something about the sticks that maybe it's just because I'm not used to them, but they just don't feel quite as well, these are Hall effect, so obviously you're not going to get, these just feel super groovy good, fantastic. But having said that, the earlier Jumper, this had Hall effect sticks too, and these, I don't know, they actually feel all right. I think, yeah, I'm also I like these sticks better than that. I think from a personal perspective, and this is purely personal, everyone's, opinions on what makes a good stick unit are different. There's no slop in these, they center nicely. They're not very damped. You can see they're not damped because they bounce up and down, which, I don't know, some people like that. And I mean, the QX7 does the same. What about my old one? What about this? Oh, that's even worse. So yeah, you can't bitch at it for that. Do these ones do it? Yeah, they all do it. Okay, I did have some gear, I think it was my JR, it was actually kind of damped, so it wouldn't make that noise. And you notice when people are flying, when they get in trouble and they start to over control, you'll hear this noise quite a bit. But the sticks are not perhaps my favorite sticks, but they're still really good. I mean, I'm not going to grizzle at that. I wouldn't not buy this radio over the sticks. It would be nice if they were, I don't know, if they just felt a little different. I don't know, I can't even explain it. So it's probably just me. It's probably my old age and my Parkinson's. It's warping my perception. So yeah, the sticks, I'd give them a 7 out of 10, I suppose. 7 out of 10 for those sticks. Just for me, but you may think they're 11.5 out of 10. It's up to you. That's a personal choice thing. As is the styling. Do I like the styling? I don't think it's a pretty radio. I don't think it's pretty. Mind you, I don't think that the QX7S is a pretty radio, but this is more like, oh, hang on, my phone. Jump cut, damn, interrupted by a phone call. Where was I? Okay, yeah, this isn't the world's prettiest radio, but I do like the fact that it is quite different in its styling. It's a bit of a Porsche 911. You either love these or hate them. I kind of like it, I suppose. It's got character. Look, big eyes and a smiley mouth or a square mouth. Anyway, robotic. It looks like a robot face. So who doesn't like robot faces? This is a little more, it's got rounded corners. It's kind of, reminds me of a couple of the, MZH18 or something, the Futaba radio. Maybe they've tried to style it around the Futaba styling because Futabas cost so much money. But again, styling is a wholly personal thing. Some people may think this is just gorgeous. It's the Marilyn Monroe of radios, and others might think, it's the Amy Winehouse. I don't know. It's your personal preference. So personally, I would not be ashamed to be seen with this radio at the field, especially given its capabilities at this stage. I haven't found anything really, apart from the antenna side of things that I was mentioning, the RF setup there. I haven't found a lot to dislike about this radio, and even then, it's probably going to be perfectly functional. I'm just being a picky RF engineer when it comes to that, and it's easily circumvented. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to wrap this up because this video has gone on way too long, but suffice to say, this was sent for review. I disclose every time someone sends me something. I didn't have to spend my hard-earned money on this, but as you know, wouldn't have made any difference. So far, I'm giving this radio a good 9 out of 10. From what I've seen, I haven't flown it, haven't pulled it apart. Do that in the upcoming video. But on the face of it, seems pretty damn good to me. I love that screen. Finally, I'm a convert to coloured screens. Who'd have thought that would ever happen? Not me, that's for sure. So there we go if you want an OpenTX radio, and so far, so damn good. And let's see if you see me flying with that or this, because this is all full. My memories are totally full in this radio. I might start using this, and we'll put a few hours on it, see how it works out. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, go in and watch PewDiePie. And if you're not a subscriber, well, you're missing out on all this information I'm trying to bring you. And I would advise you to subscribe now. Click the bell, because apparently you've got to click that bell. And when you do, it gives me warm, fuzzy feelings, honestly, who'd have thought. And then you'll get the follow-ups on this. We'll do a teardown, we'll rip inside and see what's in there, find out why they didn't put the RF inside like they did with their earlier radios. Why have they made it into a module when clearly there is room to put it inside? We don't know. Find out. Intriguing question, isn't it? If you've got any ideas, put them in the comments. And now I will get on with getting on. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you to Jumper for sending this for review. And stay tuned, because there is a lot more coming on this radio. Bye for now.